Students, now let's start discussing about corticosteroids, a very important chapter for hormones. But unfortunately, questions will be least asked from that. Why? Because we are targeting more on the adverse effects of steroids. We'll be having a basic explanation about what are those steroids and how exactly it's going to be producing its functions. We know that steroids are actually secreted from the adrenal glands. Steroids are secreted from the adrenal glands. And once it is getting released, this will be binding. This will bind with cortisol binding globulin, CBG. Cortisol binding globulin, this is the major area where these molecules will be binding up with. So any molecule, if it is getting released, gains entry into the blood, binds with CBG, and it produces its own mechanism of action. And after that, it is going to be excreted out into the urine. Let's look into how this drug is actually producing its mechanism of action. Not exactly drugs, we're actually talking about physiology writers. The physiological steroids, how it is producing the response. A similar response will be seen with the pharmacological molecules too. So physiological steroids, whenever it is administered, consider here is where your glucocorticoids, or I'm just going to be writing up steroids here. And we have the individual cells. It might be any cell inside the body. Inside the cell, we know that we have certain nucleic acid segments. These steroids will be gaining entry into those cells. Steroids will gain entry into those cells. It might be any cell present inside the body. We have steroids inside. Inside, it will bind with its own receptor called a steroid receptor. This receptor is named as glucocorticoid receptor or a steroid receptor. On activation, this receptor will gain entry into the nucleus, transcription, translation, and protein synthesis. How it is producing the translation, transcription, and protein synthesis? By activating a specific part in the nucleic acid, guys. And that specific part in the nucleic acid, which is responsible for the proteins to be synthesized, is named as glucocorticoid response elements. GRE molecules, glucocorticoid response elements. By binding with the GRE molecules, there will be synthesis of proteins which are responsible for its anti-inflammatory, for its anti-proliferatory, and also for immunosuppressive, for also its immunosuppressive functions. But sir, we have a famous question. Why didn't the steroid receptor is moving inside before itself? It should have been done, but it is not happening because usually this steroid receptor is bounded and inhibited by a particular molecule called as HSP90 molecules. We know that HSP90, heat shock protein, an important topic in your physiology, my dears. Heat shock protein will be inhibiting the receptors, preventing the receptors from landing up in activation. Whenever steroids are binding with the receptor, these steroids which we have drawn will be throwing these molecules out from that area. Because these molecules are getting thrown out, these receptors will be stimulated, thereby the GRE response elements is going to be stimulated, protein synthesis will happen. Well, that's how the steroids are producing its own functions. Let's talk about the drug names, buddy. What are all the drugs which we have under corticosteroids? These can be classified into three major subtypes based on the duration of action. That's why this classification is important. Steroid classification can be based on shorter duration of action, intermediate acting drug, and long acting drugs. Drugs which are called as short acting drugs are hydrocortisone, the drug which we use in terms of emergencies. The cortisone, the dehydrogenated part of hydrocortisone, and prednisolone. Prednisolone is a drug which can be given, which is actually a prodrug. Prednisone is actually a prodrug which is converted to prednisolone. So simply, prednisolone is the active form of prednisone. Both are no major differences are there. Prednisone is the prodrug, prednisolone is the active form. We have three drugs written under short acting drugs. Intermediate acting drugs, we have triamcinolone, the very much commonly used drug as per orthopedics is concerned. We administer it directly into the joints, guys. Also, we have paramethasone. Long-acting drugs, we have dexamethasone and betamethasone. Dexamethasone and betamethasone. These are all the drugs which are short, intermediate, and longer acting corticosteroids which we have in practice. Now let's look into the uses of these steroids. For which condition do we use these molecules? Of course, multiple different uses are there. I will just try to give you a mnemonic to remember the uses also. First of all, it is used in terms of adrenal insufficiency. Of course, because when the adrenal gland is not functioning properly, that is primary adrenal insufficiency. When it is not functioning properly, I have to administer a steroid to make sure that the levels are getting balanced out. And this steroid which is administered, so in terms of adrenal insufficiency, there will be deficiency of steroid. We have to replace those steroids. How do we manage those? How do we treat those? We have to administer glucocorticoid with mineralocorticoid therapy, given together, my dears. Why do we give? Because adrenal insufficiency, they will be suffering from a deficiency of all these molecules. Sex hormones will be deficient, glucocorticoids will be deficient, and mineralocorticoids will be deficient. So glucocorticoid, we prefer to give hydrocortisone. Glucocorticoid, we prefer to give hydrocortisone. Mineralocorticoid, we prefer to give fludrocortisone, like Fludrup. Fludrocortisone is given. And sex hormones, we prefer to give DHEA, dihydroepiandrosterone, DHEA. We give all of these drugs in combination in a patient who is suffering from adrenal insufficiency. The next is the most important use. What are the other uses of it? We can call them as non-adrenal uses. We can call them as non-adrenal uses of steroids. From the head till the toe, a lot of different uses are there. We're just going to be remembering it in the same sequence. Consider here is where your head is, eyes, we have the mouth, and arms are there. Pardon my diagram, guys, I'm very much poor in those. Again, we have legs. That's how we remember the uses of, okay, don't forget to write down the hands for this also. It is not a mushroom, it's a hand. Okay. So we'll be talking about the uses of steroids from the top till the bottom, guys. We'll start from the top. In eyes, it can be used for uveitis. It can be used for uveitis and also in terms of optic neuritis, any inflammation which is there in the eyes. From the eyes, we'll move on a little bit below in the thyroid. In terms of thyroiditis, we can use because we know it has got anti-inflammatory potentials. The next area is where your lungs are. In lungs, especially patients who are suffering from bronchial asthma and fetal lung maturation. For fetal lung maturation, we can use steroids. Bronchial asthma, steroids are the primary drugs called as controllers. From the lungs, we'll move down. Let's talk about GIT. In gastrointestinal tract, this drug has been used for IBD, for inflammatory bowel disease. We can use to counteract the inflammation. And just below the GIT, we have kidneys. In kidney, we can use these drugs for nephrotic. For nephrotic syndrome, we can use steroids. Moving on a little bit down, we have skin and bone diseases. In skin, this can be used for psoriasis and also for other dermal inflammation conditions like dermatitis. In bone, it can be used. In bone, it can be used for arthritis and bursitis. Bone, it can be used for arthritis and bursitis. All the inflammations from the top till the bottom, we can use it. Apart from this usual inflammation process, it can be used for certain other conditions like allergic reactions. For allergic reactions, we can use steroids. Apart from these allergic reactions, it can also be used for any types of inflammation. In terms of transplantation, because if you go for an organ transplant, we can go with steroids to suppress the immune system. And also for tumors, any type of cancers except Kaposi sarcoma. Except Kaposi sarcoma, any of the other types of cancers, we can use these drugs. Kaposi sarcoma, we can prefer to give interferons. We'll discuss that later under that. Well, these are the different uses of steroids, guys. We have classified them into adrenal uses and non-adrenal uses. Let's talk about the most important one for the exams, that's regarding the adverse effects of steroids. Adverse effects of steroids. What will happen when you administer these drugs for less than 14 days of duration or less than 2 weeks of time? Patients might develop hypomania. A very commonly seen one in practice body, that will be a hypomaniac symptoms. Patients would be developing acute peptic ulcer, and patients might develop acute pancreatitis too. Pancreatic inflammation also can be developed due to steroid when it is used for a shorter duration. But when the same steroids is being used for more than 14 days, which means exactly on the 15th day, don't expect that. It will not happen like that. Just like a number which we have written, longer duration of chronic therapy of steroids, patients might develop multiple different adverse effects, guys. So when it's used for more than 14 days of time, we can expect a bigger list of adverse effects. I'm just going to be writing out the list of it based on the origin or the site in which we can expect the adverse effect. First one, there will be some abnormality in the bone and in GI mucosa. What will happen to these? Bone and GI mucosa. In bone, there will be avascular necrosis of head of femur, guys. Avascular necrosis of head of femur. That's why patients are more prone to land up in osteoporosis. So osteoporosis is a contraindication for the use of steroids. First point. Second one, GI mucosa. Patients might be developing peptic ulcer disease. That's why even patients who are having a known history of peptic ulcer disease, there is a contraindication for the use of steroids. That's it about the first two areas, bone and GI mucosa. Moving on to the second set, it will increase a bigger list in the body. What are the levels which is going to be increased up further? It will be increasing pressure, fluids, hair, mood, and sodium. All these 5 levels is going to be increased up by steroids. So what's the further take home point? If this pressure is getting increased, that's the reason why these drugs are contraindicated in hypertension, guys. I cannot use that. It is getting increased, fluid is getting increased, that's why it is contraindicated in congestive cardiac failure. We cannot use this. Patients might land up in hirsutism because there will be hair growth. Mood will be developed, not the mood which you think. I'm talking about psychosis. It's called a steroid psychosis. Sodium will be increased, so patient will land up in hypernatremia. Why? Because simple one, guys, we are increasing the steroid levels. Steroids includes mineralocorticoid. The function of mineralocorticoid is to take in sodium and let out the potassium. That's why there will be hypernatremia, and of course the next thing which you're going to be writing up is levels which is going to be decreased, and you know one point already, potassium levels will be decreased at those points. What are the levels which are going to be decreased whenever you administer steroids? Again, we have a list. It decreases height. Again, see, no one is asking you to write down the list of adverse effects for steroids. This is not a long answer question. This is just NEET PG. They will give you that point here. And of course, on repetitive learning or repetitive reading, don't try to remember it in a sequence. Just try to remember that there is something which is happening with steroids over the height. If you could remember that, that will be enough. I is for immunity. One more I is for insulin, potassium, and calcium levels. All these levels is going to be increased because of decreased because of steroids. So what's the take home point? It is decreasing height, so there might be a growth retardation in children. Of course, the adults, they're not going to be getting stunted. Growth retardation in children, mild growth retardation will be seen even if it is there, even if the patient is under inhalation therapy with steroids. Immunity will be inhibited, so cell-mediated immunity will be inhibited more than humoral immunity. A very important question. Which immunity will be affected more by steroids? Cell-mediated immunity will be affected. Insulin will be decreased. That's why it is contraindicated in diabetes mellitus patients. There will be hypokalemia and hypocalcemia. Both will be decreased in those patients. So we have seen about bone and GI mucosa. Apart from that, what are the levels which are increased and what are the levels which are decreased, and certain other adverse effects like patients might develop striae, especially when given via topical route, because it might produce collagen loss. Steroids might induce collagen loss. That's why there might be striae which is developed over the skin. The next one, cataract might be developed. What type of cataract can be expected? Posterior subcapsular cataract. We used to call them as PSCC, guys. Posterior subcapsular cataract can be developed because of steroids. And the last one, patients might develop epilepsy. There might be induction of seizures. That's why these drugs are contraindicated in patients who are known cases of epilepsy. All these are adverse effects of steroids. With this, we have finished about steroids, its drugs names, mechanism of action, its uses, and its adverse effects, guys. Thank you so much.